said I raised my hand. Maria, love you, girl. Hillbilly deluxe, slick pickup trucks.
You know them for their chart-topping hits like Boot Scootin' Boogie and My Maria. They are the legendary country duo that defined 90s country with their boot-stomping hits in Cowboy Charm, Brooks and Dunn. But behind the chart-topping success, the sold-out tours, and the rowdy anthems, there was drama, tension, and yes, even a shocking breakup. What really happened between Kix Brooks and Ronnie Dunn? Was their split as friendly as they claim? And how did they end up back together after years apart? From their early days as solo artists to becoming one of the most iconic duos in country music history, we've got the scoop on their rise to fame, their feisty onstage personas, and the secrets that kept them rocking for decades. So grab your cowboy boots and let's get ready to spill some country tea about Kix Brooks and Ronnie Dunn. Before Brooks and Dunn became country royalty, they were just two struggling musicians trying to make it big with very different journeys. Kix Brooks was born on May 12, 1955 in Shreveport, Louisiana. Kix grew up next to Johnny Horton.
Down the street, but literally, you know, Rolling Stones and all that stuff. When you started having bands.
Talk about a country music destiny. He studied speech and drama at Louisiana Tech before hitting the road.
And I kind of did some theater in college. I went to Louisiana Tech.
Playing gigs as far as Maine before moving to Nashville in 1976. But instead of instant fame, he spent the 80s as a songwriting powerhouse, penning #1 hits for John Conley, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Highway 101, and the Oak Ridge Boys.
Songs I've been in Nashville, writing songs like people do for others.
His solo career, downhill. His best effort, Baby, When Your Heart Breaks Down, peaked at number 73. Ouch! Even after signing with Capitol Records in 1989, his self-titled album flopped. Meanwhile, another artist took his song, Sacred Ground, to number 2. Bad luck much? Then there's Ronnie Dunn, born June 1st, 1953, in Coleman, Texas.
I would say I was born in Texas and I spent more time there.
Ronnie started out studying to be a Baptist preacher until he got kicked out of the seminary for playing in bars. His early solo career wasn't much better, with his biggest song stalling at number 59. Then in 1989, Marlboro, yes, the cigarette brand, held a talent contest, and guess who won? Ronnie. The prize? A Nashville recording session, which got him noticed by producer Scott Hendricks and Arista exec Tim Du Bois. Oh, and get this, before he even met Kix, Ronnie had already written Boot Scootin' Boogie.
It's pretty cool that when we met, he'd already written that song along with Boot Scoot and quite a few other.
But at the time, it was just sitting on an Asleep at the Wheel album, waiting for its big break. And that's when Tim Du Bois had a genius idea. Pair these two up. And the rest, country music history. So picture this. It's 1990 and music exec Tim Du Bois has this crazy idea. He got two solo artists, Kix Brooks and Ronnie Dunn, both grinding away in Nashville, but neither is exactly setting the world on fire. So what does he do? He sets up a lunch date to introduce them.
But he just invited us to lunch and thought we might be a good pair up.
Now, here's where it gets juicy. Neither Kix nor Ronnie was exactly thrilled about this setup. Both of them had been hustling for years, trying to make it on their own. And let's be real, they had a little bit of a lone wolf attitude. Teaming up, not really what they had in mind. But Du Bois, he wasn't taking no for an answer. He had a feeling that these two could make some serious magic together. So after hearing a few of their early songs, he straight up offered them a record deal as a duo. Just like that. No beating around the bush. And here's the wildest part. After reluctantly agreeing to give it a shot, they sat down to write and bam! In their very first songwriting session, they cranked out 2 monster hits.
So we finished those 2 songs the same week we met, and those were our first 2 #1 records.
At that point, even Kix and Ronnie had to admit Du Bois was onto something. That one lunch, it didn't just change their careers, it created the greatest country duo of all time. Their debut album, Brand New Man, released in 1991, was a massive success, selling over 6 million copies. But that was just the beginning. Their first 4 singles, Brand New Man, My Next Broken Heart, Neon Moon, and Boot Scootin' Boogie.
Brand New Man, Friday we wrote this song, Next Broken Heart, and Ronnie had already written Neon Moon and Boot Scootin' Boogie, and I had another song, Lost and Found, and
all went to #1 on the country charts.
I think Next Broken Heart were our first 2 #1s. By the time that third single, Neon Moon, came out, if you're playing that stuff live, they were loving it. And I'm like,
And
okay.
guess what? No duo or group in country music history had ever pulled that off before. Oh, and let's talk about Boot Scootin' Boogie for a second. That song didn't just top the charts, it literally sparked a nationwide line dancing craze.
Kind of cool country lyric, but it's also got this sort of cowboy cha-cha thing that people really like to dance to.
Suddenly, people everywhere were scooting their boots like it was their full-time job. For 2 decades, Brooks and Dunn were the biggest thing in country music. They pumped out 11 studio albums, a Christmas album, a 5 compilation album, because, why not dominate every format possible? They racked up a jaw-dropping 50 singles, with 20 hitting #1 and another 19 landing in the top 10. Their sound, the perfect mix of honky-tonk swagger and rock and roll attitude, making them totally irresistible to fans. And let's not forget their legendary stage presence. Kix was the wild one, running around, hyping up the crowd, while Ronnie played it cool, until he opened his mouth and that voice just hit you. Chills every time. Their concerts were unreal. We're talking fireworks, confetti cannons, and carnival-style insanity. Their Neon Circus and Wild West show tours were basically a traveling country music festival. Now, let's talk trophies. These guys didn't just win awards, they owned them. 2 Grammys, 19 CMA Awards, and 30 ACM Awards.
Country Music Awards, and the song was like in the top 5 or just slipping
Went
to
number
one.
the week
Yeah.
we won our first 2 awards.
Yeah.
More than any duo in country music history. Oh, and that CMA Vocal Duo of the Year award, they took it home almost every single year from 1992 to 2006, only missing out in 2000, which we know still haunts them. Then, because they had to remind everyone they were still the duo, they snatched it again in 2004. 30 million albums sold, best-selling country duo ever, and of course, a well-earned spot in the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2019. Oh, and don't forget their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, because when you're that iconic, Nashville alone isn't enough. For 2 straight decades, Brooks and Dunn owned country music. They could fill an arena on any given night. Their songs are still absolute bangers, and let's be honest, who hasn't danced to Boot Scootin' Boogie at least once in their life? And did you know Brooks and Dunn weren't just country music superstars, but also had their own fictional cowboy alter egos? Yep, in every album's liner notes, they spun wild tales about Slim and Howdy, basically cowboy versions of themselves. And get this, by 2008, they teamed up with writer Bill Fitzhugh to turn these stories into a full-blown book, The Adventures of Slim and Howdy. Talk about living the country fantasy. But like any long-term relationship, even in the world of country music, things aren't always smooth sailing and honky-tonk behind the scenes. For years, there were whispers, creative differences, tensions, and clashing egos. Turns out, compromising on song choices and musical direction was not their favorite thing to do. I mean, it makes sense. 2 super talented artists with their own visions, trying to make it work under one name, that's bound to cause some friction. But here's the real tea. By the late 90s, things got so tense that they actually recorded songs for the same album in different studios with different producers. That's not just we need some space, that's full-blown separate life energy. And then came 1999, a year that proved even country royalty can hit a rough patch. Some of their singles did crack the top 10, and their album Tightrope, yeah, let's just say it didn't exactly fly off the shelves like their earlier records. The momentum was slowing, and rumor has it, Ronnie was especially frustrated. He wanted to make music his way without always having to meet in the middle. Then in 2006, Kix took on hosting duties for American Country Countdown, and this is where things got extra spicy. Ronnie later hinted that this gig might have hurt their standing in country radio. Translation: a subtle power struggle was happening, and Ronnie wasn't exactly thrilled about it. While they never had an all-out feud, let's just say there were definitely some hard feelings about the direction of their career. Finally, in 2009, after 2 decades of being the biggest duo in country music, Brooks and Dunn announced they were done. They launched a farewell tour, dramatically titled The Last Rodeo. and played their final show in September 2010. It was the end of an era. After the split, both Kix and Ronnie went solo, still under the same record label. Kix released New to This Town in 2012, while Ronnie dropped a self-titled album in 2011. But here's the interesting part. Neither one of them reached the same level of success on their own. It's almost like their magic only worked when they were together. Coincidence? We think not. Alright, these two aren't just country legends. They've got some pretty interesting personal lives too. Kix has been happily married to Barbara Brooks for years, and together they have 2 kids, Molly and Eric. But here's where it gets interesting. When he's not making music, Kix is all about the good life. He owns a movie production company, Team 2 Entertainment, has his own steak grilling show, Steak Out with Kix Brooks, on the Cooking Channel. Wine, steak, and movies. This man knows how to live. Ronnie is married to Janie Dunn, and between his past and present relationships, he's a proud dad to 3 kids, Whitney, Jesse, and Haley. They've both managed to keep their personal lives relatively scandal-free, but in the country music world, that's almost a scandal in itself. Beyond their country stardom, Brooks and Dunn have spent years giving back through various charities. In 2007, they received the ACM Home Depot Humanitarian Award for their work with Ronald McDonald House and St. Jude Children's Hospital. They've also raised funds for cancer research, performing at events like Country in the Rockies and Stars and Guitars, which brought in $75,000 for the Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center. Their drummer, Trey Gray, has been actively raising money for Huntington's disease, while Kix Brooks chairs the Monroe Carell Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt Advisory Board and hosts fundraising events like the Arrington Vineyards Harvest Party. Meanwhile, Ronnie Dunn launched the Lensman Project, selling his photography to benefit the American Cancer Society. Inspired by his daughter's battle with cancer, his daughter's health scare started out as what she thought was just a bad case of appendicitis, but things took a devastating turn when doctors discovered it was actually a rare and malignant kidney tumor. Thankfully, with top-tier medical care, she underwent surgery and the tumor was successfully removed. Simply put, Brooks and Dunn aren't just country icons, they're genuinely good guys who've made a real difference. Just when we thought Brooks and Dunn were done for good, they hit us with the ultimate comeback. In 2015, they shocked everyone by reuniting for a Las Vegas residency with none other than their country queen bestie, Reba McEntire. And let me tell you, this wasn't just some one-time nostalgia trip. Nope, this show was so insanely popular that it turned into a long-term gig. Fans just could not get enough, and honestly, we totally get it. Oh, these two prove they still got it by hitting the road again, touring like it was the 90s all over again. They even dropped Reboot in 2019 and Reboot 2 in 2024, giving their classic bangers a fresh twist by teaming up with some of the hottest country stars of today. Not only did this bring their legendary music to a whole new generation, but it also proved that Brooks and Dunn are not about to fade into country history anytime soon. They're evolving, staying relevant, and keeping their fans, both old and new, hooked. Moral of the story, never count out a country legend. In season 16 of The Voice, they joined Team Blake as battle advisors. Because, let's be real, who better to coach up-and-coming country artists than these two legends? That's a whole country power trio right there. So, what's the latest tea on Brooks and Dunn? Well, these country legends are still going strong. That's right. After all these years, they're out here tearing up the stage, touring, and giving their diehard fans exactly what they want. And guess what? They have already announced their Neon Moon Tour for 2025. Talk about keeping the honky-tonk alive. Meanwhile, Kix Brooks is still hosting his super popular American Country Countdown radio show, while Ronnie Dunn is busy doing his own thing in the industry. Now, let's talk money. With Brooks at 70 and Dunn at 72, they boast a combined net worth estimated at $100 million. From dominating country music for decades, selling millions of records, sold-out tours, to lucrative solo projects, and raking in all those juicy royalties, these guys are living proof that hard work pays off. These two may have had their ups and downs, but let's be real, Brooks and Dunn aren't just a duo, they're a full-blown country institution. From their unexpected rise to stardom to their massive comeback, They've proven that country magic never fades. One thing's for sure, Brooks and Dunn will always have a spot in country music history and on every country fan's playlist.